Before you settle in, a warning. Some stories have a way of following you out of the dark. I was killing time on a rainy Saturday afternoon doing what any nostalgic person does, scrolling through Google Maps Street View of my old neighborhood. I hadn't lived on Elm Street in nearly 10 years. It was a mundane little suburban block, full of identical brick houses and patchy lawns. I zoomed in on my old house, number 47. The picture was dated 2013, exactly the year I moved out. Everything looked right. The slightly peeling paint on the porch, the overgrown rose bushes, and my neighbor Mrs. Henderson's gigantic, ugly blue minivan parked across the street. I clicked down the street a little bit, enjoying the memory of the light on the pavement. That's when I saw it. Parked directly in front of my old house was a car that didn't belong to me or to the street. It was a silver 1968 Ford Mustang Fastback, a beautiful, impossibly pristine classic car. I stopped scrolling. My heart gave a weird little thump. I knew that car. I didn't know that specific car, but I knew the model, the exact color, the particular gleam of the chrome. Because for the last 3 years I had been obsessed with buying one. I spent every weekend searching online classifieds, watching restoration videos, and saving every penny. It was my dream car. I had never told anyone about it except my current girlfriend, and certainly hadn't bought it yet. I didn't even have the money for it yet. But there it was, parked in front of my house 10 years ago. I zoomed in. The clarity of the street view image was surprisingly high. The car was real. It had a license plate, one that looked generic, a placeholder perhaps, but it was there. And it was parked exactly where I always imagined parking it, perfectly angled against the curb. I backed up the street view camera, then returned. The car was still there. I checked the date stamp in the corner, July 2013. In July 2013, I was driving a beat-up Toyota Corolla that regularly stalled on hills. The Mustang was nowhere in my life, not even a serious financial possibility. I logged out of Google Maps. I deleted my search history. I restarted my computer. I even cleared my cache. When I opened Google Maps again, I typed in the address for Elm Street. The satellite view loaded fine. I switched to Street View. The first image that loaded was my house. The Mustang was gone. I breathed a huge sigh of relief. It was a temporary server glitch, an asset misplacement, a rare error in the vast database. The Mustang had been swapped out for the correct car, my old Toyota Corolla, rusting slightly in the driveway. Everything was normal. I clicked the navigation arrow to move forward to the next available snapshot. The screen loaded. The date changed to July 2013. And there it was, the silver Mustang parked perfectly in front of number 47. It wasn't a glitch that fixed itself. It was a layer of reality that was hidden one click away, preserved within Google's digital archive. I sat there, staring at the screen, the only person in the world who knew that 10 years ago I already owned a car I hadn't yet bought. The implication hit me with the force of a physical blow. The Mustang was there because I was supposed to have it. It was a piece of my future leaking backward into my past. The next day, the search for the Mustang changed. It wasn't about finding a car anymore. It was about fulfilling a destiny. I redoubled my savings. I became obsessed. 3 months later, I found it. A silver 1968 Ford Mustang Fastback, beautifully restored, for sale 3 states away. It was slightly over budget, but the owner, for some reason, was willing to negotiate the price down, almost as if he was fated to sell it to me. I bought the car. The day I drove it home, I parked it directly in front of my current apartment. It felt right, but deeply, terrifyingly wrong. The car was finally mine, but the magic of the acquisition was gone. The moment was anticlimactic. I was simply executing a pre-approved script. The real experiment began when I logged back into Google Maps. I navigated to my old house on Elm Street. Date stamp, July 2013. The Mustang was still there. But now, I had a new terrifying question. Was the car the only thing that had been predetermined? I started searching for other discrepancies. I scanned the windows of my old house in the July 2013 image. The curtains were slightly different from the ones I remembered. More expensive, nicer. I checked my neighbor Mrs. Henderson's lawn. In the 2013 version I remembered, the lawn was patchy. In the one with the Mustang, it was perfectly manicured, a small, intricate garden added near the sidewalk. I typed in the name of a girl I had dated briefly around that time. I searched her old apartment building. In the July 2013 image that contained the Mustang, I zoomed in on her balcony. She was sitting out there, not alone, but talking to a man I didn't recognize. He was clearly embracing her, a man I had never met. I checked the normal, clean, June 2013 image. She was alone, reading a book. The Mustang wasn't just a car, it was a temporal marker. Its presence signaled a completely different, darker, more advanced future. A future where I had already moved on to the next car, but my past relationship had already ended in a way I didn't remember. I felt sick. The images weren't just showing me my own predetermined outcomes. They were showing me the predetermined outcomes of everyone connected to me. The most terrifying video I watched was of my childhood friend Mark. We had a huge, stupid fight in 2014 that ended our friendship. I navigated to his house in the July 2013 Mustang image. Mark was standing on his porch, but he wasn't looking at the street view car. He was looking at my old house, number 47. His expression wasn't neutral. It was an expression of profound, unshakable regret. It was the face of a man who had already gone through the fight that hadn't happened yet. Mark hadn't known about the fight yet, but the future version of his regret was already captured in the photograph from the previous year. I tried to call Mark. I hadn't spoken to him in nearly 10 years. I found his number and called it. He answered. I apologized for the fight. I told him how much I missed him. He was quiet for a long time. Then he said, his voice flat, "It's too late, isn't it? I always knew you would call. I just didn't think it would take this long." I felt the script tighten around my throat. I couldn't escape the predetermined emotional consequence. My obsession with the Mustang timeline grew. I realized the image wasn't just a snapshot. It was a leak from a future server, a different version of the Google Earth archive that contained a perfected, logical timeline where my life was already mapped out. I became convinced that the normal, clean 2013 image was the true past, the one with free will, and the Mustang image was the fated future I was now locked into. I started looking for myself in the Mustang image. I spent hours scanning the windows of my old house. I knew I should be inside. Finally, in a dark reflection on the pane of the living room window, I saw him. It was me, July 2013 me, but I looked older. I was standing in the shadows of the living room, facing the window, facing the street view camera, facing my future self, who was viewing the image 10 years later. My reflection in the glass was pale, gaunt, and looked completely exhausted. I wasn't doing anything. I was just standing there, staring at the car, staring at the beautiful Mustang I had not yet bought, staring at the physical proof that my life was already over. The eyes in the reflection weren't sad or angry. They were simply empty, utterly devoid of hope or surprise. They were the eyes of someone who knew the exact next 10 years of his life, minute by minute. I closed the laptop and put the Mustang in the garage. I didn't drive it anymore. I was terrified of being seen in it, knowing that every time I drove the car, I was fulfilling the destiny the map had shown me. I pulled out my phone and loaded Google Maps. I opened the street view for the current year, 2023. The house looked exactly the same as the 2013 image. Then I clicked the time slider and dragged it back to July 2013. The screen loaded and the image was clear. The Mustang was gone. My stomach dropped. I panicked, thinking the image had been deleted, that the anomaly was finally gone. I clicked forward to August 2013. The image loaded. No Mustang. I scrolled through the entire archive. 2011, 2012, 2014. No Mustang. It was completely scrubbed from the historical record. I ran home, frantic, convinced I had destroyed the evidence. I opened my current laptop. I went to Google Maps. I typed in the address. I slid the timeline to July 2013. The Mustang was not there. The old Toyota Corolla was in the driveway, exactly where it should be. I searched my hard drive for the old screenshots I had taken. They were gone, deleted. I thought I was free. I thought I had broken the script by my random movements, that the universe had reasserted free will. But then I remembered the very first thing I saw in the anomaly image, the generic license plate. I had written it down on a piece of scratch paper back when I first saw the image. I pulled out the old paper from a drawer. The number was there. I went back to the street view. I navigated to a completely random street in a completely different city, far away from Elm Street. I zoomed in on a car parked there, a gray sedan. I opened the image editing feature on my laptop and carefully typed the license plate number from the paper onto the gray sedan's license plate in the image. I was performing a purely local digital alteration. As soon as the new characters were fully typed onto the image on my screen, Google Maps glitched. The screen flashed and the image of the gray sedan transformed. The sedan was gone. It was replaced by the silver 1968 Ford Mustang Fastback. The car was there, with the generic license plate, exactly as I remembered it. And it was parked on a street I had never searched before. The car wasn't tied to the address. It wasn't tied to the year. It was tied to the plate number. The plate number was the key. I realized the Mustang timeline hadn't been scrubbed. It had simply decentralized. The faded future was now lurking in thousands of random, unseen street view images, waiting to be unlocked by the one piece of data only I knew. I still have the Mustang. It sits in my garage, covered with a dust sheet. I never drive it. I never search Google Maps anymore. I live in a constant fear that if I type a single coordinate wrong or zoom in on the wrong parking lot, I will unlock the next terrifying step of my predetermined life. But sometimes I'm walking down a busy city street, and I see a car parked far ahead. And for a split second, before the light changes, I see that specific silver gleam. And I know, even from this distance, that if I could zoom in, I wouldn't see a regular license plate. I would see the generic placeholder plate. And I know that in that car, parked on that random street in the present day, there is a driver. And that driver is me, looking out the window, looking at the exact spot I am currently standing, with the empty, exhausted eyes of someone who knows the inevitable next step. The Mustang didn't leak from the future. The future is using it to track the present, and it's waiting for me to catch up. This story may be over, but the channel is full of others that linger. Subscribe and keep listening, if you dare.